Welcome to Be Evolved, a podcast for parents and educators who prioritize developing possibility and expansion within the total educational process for themselves and their children or students. We invite you to listen to the podcast with your child or student in mind and with yourself at the center of the learning experience. Ultimately, our goal is to bridge the gap between educational expertise and research, translating it into practical action. Gaining knowledge plus taking action is what it means to be evolved. Hi, everyone. Evolved is 10 years old this month. And so I'm going to present to you 10 short success stories and Q&As as a gift to all of you for our 10th birthday. So first up, Mary. Please tell me, how do I get my child off their phone during homework time? Okay, great question. Depends on how old they are. If they're in middle school, I would simply just make it a rule. In our house, in our family, we do not have phones while we do homework. We're going to put them over here, and then you're going to do your homework. When you show me that it's done, you may have it back. When they're a little bit older, you could use proactive solutions. You could actually use that when they're younger too, but just offering a couple of different ideas. Becky Reback will train you, and it's a really great way of really partnering with your child around these kinds of decisions. But essentially, it would kind of go like this. Hey, son, I noticed that you're on your phone a lot. What's up? And then you would probe them and sort of ask them about their whole entire context of that. And then you would be able to present your concern. My concern when you are on your phone all of the time is that your brain is not able to totally focus on what you're learning, and it's really interfering with your ability to do your work well. And we need to come up with a solution that is mutually satisfactory and reasonable. So that's the goal, is you have to come up with something like that. So it's a nice way for you to communicate and problem solve with your child. Also, it's a great framework for your child to learn. So Becky Reback will train you. She's here in this company. Great question to start us off. Question number two, Mary, why did you start Evolved Education Company? And the answer is that I was tutoring for many years, and I had just had my third baby. I was feeling completely lonely and unprofessional. So I decided to start a company because I wanted to have a platform to learn and to collaborate and to come into work every day and tutor, help families outside of school. This is what I love to do, and that's why I started the business. Next question. Mary, my child is struggling to learn to read. We have tried just about everything that we can think of. I'm wondering if you have ideas on how we can help our child. Okay, well, I have a lot of questions back to you, which would be sort of, how old is your child? What have you tried? Do you know more about your child's brain? Meaning, why are we having this difficulty with reading? Could it be a language-based learning disability? Could it be an intentional issue? Could it be rigidity in their brains? Could it be something that their body's experiencing? So I'd always start with a little bit more of an investigation as to why we're having the issue that we're having, and then we can address it with a more targeted intervention. So some things that might help would be, let's say it's a language-based learning disability. We want to use a multi-sensory approach that is routinized and lots of time on task, right? Lots of time doing this. I know it's not pleasant, but it really is important. And this is where if it's an attentional issue or a regulatory issue, it can be even harder to remediate because kiddos have a hard time sitting. And that's when we need to modify and give them ways to move while we're teaching them to be on task and reading, right? So there's lots of different options that we can problem solve with, but essentially starting with why is this happening is a really good place to be. Okay, on to question number four. What is the first book that you wrote? Okay, well, the first book I wrote was called Supporting School. It is a guide for parents and educators, and Deanna Hyslop and I wrote it in 2016, but really we started it right when we started the business in 2014, but it just got busy and we were both just trying to manage our tutoring loads and all of this, and I had little kids and it was just a lot of work to write a book. So we published it and we had a wonderful panel discussion over at Zaniac. They had technology classes there. I just remember it so fondly. And we talked about whole child education. And the model we wrote about in the book is actually a model that we still use, which is paying attention to the kids' academic, social, emotional, physical functioning at home and at school. And then Deanna and I spoke at a conference thereafter. We did some research. It was really a really great experience to write that book. There's another question here. This is the fifth question, which is tell me about the other books you've written. And I've written a lot of books. I've written 13 books now, and I love writing. I think it's just a way for me to think and to also share what I'm learning. And if it just helps one person, if one person picks up the book and decides it has been helpful, I always feel I have done my job. And I know that has happened for every single book. I get letters and notes and different PMs about books that I've written that people have picked up in all parts of the world. And it's always thrilling to get those messages because then I know that I've been able to help somebody. And if you're thinking about writing a book, my thought is you should do it. Okay, so that was question number 5, was just what other books have you written? I don't have them all memorized, but I've written books on tutoring, on admissions, on executive functioning. I wrote a fiction book just recently called Chloe's Phone-Free Life. I wrote a book about strategies and executive functioning. So a lot of different types of books. Okay, next question. So what has been the most exciting and non-exciting part about leading a business? Okay, well, that's a good one. So I feel like the most exciting part about leading a business is how many lives you can impact. So not only am I able to impact the lives of the clients and the students, but I'm also able to impact the lives of our employees and contractors. And that is really, really fulfilling. The hardest part about it is when I can't meet my responsibilities and I am trying so hard to do it and it's just not working. Maybe I didn't get enough revenue or I, paid somebody too much. I made a mistake with a contract. I didn't know enough about business, so I wasn't doing it well. Those kinds of things are always really disappointing and hard to take, if you will, right? Okay, next question. What do you think is the most important thing to put into a tutoring lesson? Most important thing to put into a tutoring lesson would be to establish really strong rapport. You're having a student come in who is having trouble with something. And so what you want to do is you really want to connect with that person in a way that is empathetic and caring. And, you're giving off this energy, which is, I appreciate you and I love you and I think you're wonderful. Even though, yes, I know this is hard and I'm going to help you with that, though. We're going to get through it. I just know we will. So coming at it from those energy points is really always so important. And I think it's sometimes 80% of the game, Once a kid really understands that you are there to get them through and you will appreciate them any which way they show up, that's always, always really important. Okay, we're on to the 7th question here. What is the hardest case you've ever had? Oh, well, I don't really want to talk so much about all of these, but I will say I've probably seen it all. And I think that categorically speaking, let's just say this. What absolutely irritates me, and I could curse here if you want me to, but it's like, irritates the out of me, is when a child is not doing well because someone in their life didn't understand them. And I've gotten through a lot of this where, kids have certain neurology or they just didn't know any better, or they really tried, but they just didn't know. And, they got into a position where they were shamed or they were punished or something just really unfortunate might have happened. And those are the things that I don't appreciate because I just know that we're all in a learning space. And what I'd rather people do is be curious and to try to be curious about why a child's doing what they're doing and then to support that child to have additional skills so that we could go forward differently. Really, that's it, right? So those are the hardest cases, I would say, for me. What do you do in your free time? I don't have a lot of free time, but I will travel. I will go to Central Park and I will run. I will see my very good friends for dinner, and my husband and I will go out and we love to walk around New York and explore it and be with our kids during sports and see my family, my extended family, and my sisters. So those are the kinds of things, but I'll probably be working or writing most of the time. I do just love it. So that is what I'll be doing. Can you tell us about your team and what they do at Evolved? Sure. So at Evolved, we have a team of school consultants who do different things. So we have Becky Reback, who's in charge of assessment and all kinds of school placement, nursery through college, and also special ed. And then we have Caitlin, who does nursery and kindergarten. And then Randy Dumont does high school and boarding school. And Liza Steele is working on gifted education and bilingual education and public versus private education, as well as other, nursery through high school, different types of placements. And then Sophie is doing all kinds of school placements too, but also concentrating on our middle school students. So that team is so knowledgeable and so interesting to me. They really provide me with so much information and resources. And then we have Amy Nathan, who's the head of student services, who takes care of tutoring and test preparation and all of the tutors who work within her department, especially Spencer Moravec and Talant Abraj and Eliane Siddell. And we also have Ella Pennington, who's our administrator. So there's a lot of people here who do a lot of work for our clients and who really work tirelessly to make sure that they are getting the supports that they need. And any one of them would just drop anything to make sure that their clients are getting what they need. And I love that about them. So I've learned to work and hired better. I think as I've gone along, there's been a couple of people who certainly stayed here all of this time, but I really work very hard on paying the teachers well and making sure that they have the opportunities to do work that they would like to do. I am a believer that if you want to do something for work, it's always going to translate into more successful work for our families and students. So I think that's very important. Right. 2 more questions. I hope I'm counting right here because I didn't actually number these questions now that I'm thinking about it. So you might get a bonus one in here just because of my neglectful numbering here, but we'll do 2 more questions. I just made a whole set of questions here from my different friends and close contacts and clients. You know who you are. I'm always texting certain people. Give me a couple questions I can be asked on our latest podcast. Okay. So what's your most favorite service that you have here at Evolved? Okay, that's a good one. So, well, I actually love them all. And I will tell you the reason I love them is because in every single one of them, we are going to see a student increase the way that they learn and improve the way that they learn. So I love that so much. I love when a student comes in and can read better, can do their homework better, can write better, can study better, gets into the school that they want to go to, has stronger executive functioning, does all of the things that they weren't doing before. I just think that is so cool. And I want to be a part of that process all the time. But right now I'm working on the Executive Functioning Institute, and that is launched this month. And we are formally studying executive functioning, providing it for students in grades 4 and up in remote ways. And it is so fun to see students get strategies to do what their brain just doesn't do on its own. So we get to have more focus, more working memory, more cognitive flexibility. It is super, super fun. So that is a really fun one. Okay, very last question. I'm just kind of looking down the ones to see if I can end on one that I feel like is pretty fun. Okay, yeah. Well, there you go. So what's in it for the next 10 years? What's up for the next 10 years? Well, quite frankly, I kind of like that I don't know it all because I never knew the pandemic was going to happen and that took us into 10,000 different turns. But I think, something I know for sure is that we'll evolve. And I will surely be continuously interested in helping students to improve their learning. So those 2 things will definitely be happening. I really hope that our team grows. I hope that we're more successful and more impactful from serving more clients. And I really hope that we can become even better learners, both in the way that we're doing our work, but also in the way that we do our business. And I'm excited to just be a part of that for the next 10 years. How about that? So anyways, I'll close it up there. Thank you so much for just hopping on and having a listen. Hopefully you're having a walk or cleaning up or just in the car driving. It has been a wonderful 10 years to be able to do this work. And I'm really, truly looking forward to 10 more prosperous years of leading Evolved Education Company. Thank you so much for listening and Happy birthday, Evolved Education Company.
Thank you so much for joining us today on Be Evolved. We hope you learned something and that you can take direct action toward helping your student to learn well. If you enjoyed this content, please consider subscribing or writing a review. This is how this information gets to others who could benefit from it. Our education systems are complex, vast, and various, and the student you're parenting and teaching is unique. Thus, if you could benefit from one-to-one holistic guidance provided by educational experts, please visit us at www.evolvededucationcompany.com. If you have any questions you'd like to ask or ideas for this show, please email us at admin@evolveded.com. That's admin@evolveded.com. We are so pleased to serve you and connect you with the best educational expertise.